Have you ever noticed that some people just seem financially calm? They make choices about money that feel almost effortless, yet nothing about their appearance would ever suggest they are wealthy. There are some very specific signs that someone has an extremely high financial intelligence. Most people never notice these subtle patterns because they are looking for the wrong things. In fact, these traits are often the exact opposite of what the typical person believes. They explain why some people stay wealthy while others who earn a lot still struggle. Quality of life does not come from guessing or following the crowd. It comes from a deep understanding of how money actually works in the real world. We live in a time where everyone is shouting about how to get rich quickly. But the truly wise are focused on how to stay wealthy and maintain their freedom. If you have ever felt that you are working hard but not getting ahead, this is for you. Perhaps you see your account balance grow, but your purchasing power seems to shrink. This is a common frustration for many hard-working individuals today. But there is a different way to look at your resources. It is a way that brings peace of mind instead of constant anxiety. Let us explore the signs of a master wealth builder. First, someone with high financial intelligence understands that nothing is guaranteed. They realize that everything carries some form of risk. Even the things that look the most secure on the surface can be dangerous. For example, many people assume a government savings account is completely safe. Technically, your principal amount is secure in those accounts. However, inflation is a silent thief that slowly erodes your buying power. A person with high financial intelligence plans for this invisible decay. They do not just look at the numbers on the screen. They look at what those numbers can actually buy in the grocery store. Think about the concept of a stable job in the current economy. A monthly paycheck feels very secure until the company decides to downsize. Industries can shrink, and unexpected global events can change everything. The wise person does not blindly trust that their current situation will last forever. They look at investments like real estate and stocks with a critical eye. They recognize that market swings and policy changes are part of the game. High financial intelligence is not about avoiding risk entirely. It is about recognizing risk and understanding the potential downsides. It is about factoring those risks into every single choice you make. This mindset shifts your entire perspective on wealth. You stop buying things because they feel safe and start analyzing the facts. You plan for multiple outcomes and always leave room for the unexpected. Instead of trying to eliminate risk, you learn how to manage it. Another clear sign of a financial genius is that they care about value and not just price. It is never about simply buying the cheapest item available. It is about whether an item actually gives you what you need for the long term. Consider the simple example of a high-quality tool or a piece of equipment. The cheapest option might save you money today, but it will break tomorrow. Someone with high financial intelligence will pay more for something that lasts. They see the extra cost as an investment in their time and future peace of mind. Think about how this applies to a home purchase in the United States today. The sticker price is only one small part of the overall equation. The wise buyer thinks about the long-term return and the cost of maintenance. They ask which property offers the most benefit for every dollar spent. They weigh every angle, including location and future appreciation potential. Even small daily purchases reflect this deep analytical mindset. They would rather buy a durable item once than replace a cheap one 10 times. High financial intelligence is not about being cheap or stingy. It is about weighing the overall value while the price remains secondary. A third sign is the ability to turn income into assets that fund your lifestyle. Most people spend their money just to live and maintain their status, but the wealthy focus on structuring their money so it works for them over time. Imagine someone who wants to buy a luxury item like a second home. The typical person would use their direct income to pay for it immediately. This leads to tighter budgets and fewer options in the future. However, a person with high financial intelligence does something different. They invest that same money into a portfolio designed to generate returns. Those returns are then used to cover the expenses of the luxury item. It might take a little longer to achieve the goal this way, but over time the investment pays for the lifestyle without touching the principal. One approach drains your cash while the other lets your money work for you. Some people see their paycheck as a reward for their hard work. They feel they must spend it right away to enjoy the fruits of their labor. This is a lower level of financial intelligence that leads to a cycle of stress. The wise person uses their paycheck to fund their investments first. They understand that those investments will eventually provide true freedom. Structuring your money to generate more money is a hallmark of the masters. Another sign of someone smart with money is that they choose logic over emotion. They do not walk into a shop and buy an expensive watch on a whim. They are not driven by the pressure to keep up with their neighbors. Status and impulse rarely drive the choices of a high-intelligence thinker. Every move is weighed with reason first and feelings second. They ask themselves if a purchase fits their long-term goals. They consider the trade-offs they are making with every dollar spent. This thought process prevents the expensive mistakes that most people make. They do not let a persuasive sales pitch commit them to a bad deal. They do not get excited by flashy models or temporary trends. Instead, they do their homework and research every detail. They might choose a certified pre-owned vehicle because it makes more sense. They are perfectly fine with that choice because it aligns with their budget. Emotion does not drive the decision because reason is in control. Building on this, a person with high financial intelligence thinks in second-order effects. They do not just ask if they can afford the monthly payment today. They ask what this purchase will commit them to 5 years from now. Imagine taking a job that pays a much higher salary. At first glance, it looks like a wonderful opportunity for your family. But a high-intelligence thinker pauses to consider the ripple effects. They look at the longer commute and the loss of precious free time. They consider the stress of the company culture and the impact on their health. They see how the choice could impact every other part of their life. It is the same concept with major purchases, like a larger house. It is not just about the upfront cost of the mortgage. It is about the ongoing taxes and the higher cost of insurance and repairs. The wise consider the full chain of consequences before they sign a contract. That foresight prevents the costly mistakes that others only see when it is too late. Someone with high financial intelligence values optionality over immediate gain. Quick wins are attractive, but the ability to stay flexible is much more valuable. They focus on keeping doors open so they can pivot when needed. Sometimes this means passing up a short-term reward for a long-term benefit. Consider a promotion that comes with a significant raise. If it requires more stress and prevents you from a personal goal, you might say no. The wise would much rather keep their schedule flexible and their lifestyle simple. They save and invest because it builds a foundation of future freedom. They see money as a tool for independence and not just a way to buy things. Choosing long-term flexibility over short-term satisfaction is a sign of mastery. Another very subtle sign is that they do not let money define who they are. Their self-worth is not tied to what they own or how much they earn. Their financial choices are practical and focused on function. They might dress neatly in simple clothes without any visible brand names. They look put together, but they are not trying to signal status to strangers. They choose a reliable vehicle that gets them from point A to point B. Even with their investments, they do not follow the popular crowd. They do not buy trendy assets just because everyone else is talking about them. They ask if an investment makes sense for their specific retirement goals. At the end of the day, their choices are functional and not performative. That quiet and steady approach might not turn heads in a crowd, but over time it compounds into real and lasting financial strength. You can spot someone seeking validation from a mile away. But someone with high financial intelligence does not operate that way. They do not care what others think of their home or their lifestyle. They focus on what truly matters to them and their loved ones. For validation, they look to their quiet accomplishments and personal growth. Finally, they understand the power of the tipping point. They know that the first $100,000 is the hardest to save. It feels slow and grueling, like you are pushing a boulder uphill. But they also know that once they reach a certain level, the game changes. Wealth does not grow in a straight line, it bends upward exponentially. Once your portfolio reaches a critical mass, it starts to grow on its own. The returns on your investments eventually exceed your annual contributions. This is the moment when your money begins to work harder than you do. The second $1 million always comes much faster than the first million. Most people stop too soon because they do not see the exponential curve. But the wise person stays the course because they trust the math. They are patient and they understand that time is their greatest ally. These are not habits that you have to force yourself to perform. They are ways of thinking and quiet patterns of behavior. If these signs sound familiar to you, then you are on the right path. If not, it is never too late to adjust your mindset. Take a moment to look at your own financial choices today. Are you seeking status or are you seeking freedom? Are you driven by emotion or are you guided by logic? True financial intelligence is a journey that begins with a single step. It is about finding that calm center in a world of financial noise. Thank you for spending this time with me. Focus on the value and the freedom will follow.